Alright, yan. Magandang araw mga kabatas natin. At syempre, welcome po sa isa namang live stream. Ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon ay konting comparison, no? At saka primarily naman paglilinaw doon sa kaso ni BBM na nasa Supreme Court na. Tapos compare and contrast din natin yan doon sa disqualification case ni Raffy Tulfo. Meron nga dito mga kabatas natin isang video kung saan si Teodorte in-interview dito sa ANC Digital. Papaliwanag ko sa inyo kung ano yung mga sinasabi niya at syempre, no, ibabangga natin yan doon sa nangyayari rin kay Raffy Tulfo. Para doon sa mga tao kasi na yun, maaga nang nag-ad hominem kasi parang tapos na wala ka ng kwenta, ganyan. Yan. Ito mga kabatas natin, bago tayo pumunta dyan, may i-share ako sa inyong isang favorite quote ko. No? Ito yun. Sorry bro. Mali. Dapat, edit. When, dapat daw yun. Yan. Ito mga kabatas natin. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Anong ibig sabihin yan? No? Yung pagkakataon, no? Kung yung mga nasa paligid mo o yung mga nangyayari sa iyo ay pahirap ng pahirap, no? Mas nagpupursige ka dapat. 'Di ba? When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Kaya nga, 'di ba mga kabatas natin, parang si Goku, 'di ba? Hindi papayag na under power siya. Siyempre, kailangan natin mag-super saiyan. Ganun talaga. What matters in the end, ito mga kabatas natin bago tayo pumunta dyan. What matters in the end is you gave it all. You did your best. So, babalik tayo doon sa kaso ni Tulfo. Ang importante, ginawa natin lahat ng makakaya natin. And like I said, let's leave the end to its own. All right? Ito, pakinggan natin itong kay BBM.
Will be speaking now to the legal counsel of the petitioners calling for the cancellation of the COC of leading presidential bet Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Former Supreme Court spokesperson Theodore Te. Attorney Te, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Carmina. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
All right. So before we talk about the
Ito, konting paliwanag, itong si Teodorte ngayon ay inakyat na po yung kaso o yung cancellation of certificate of candidacy ni Bongbong Marcos sa Supreme Court kasi makikita naman natin na natalo siya sa NBank. In relation to procedure at kung ano na yung nangyayari ngayon, it's still with the COMELEC in bank because like what I showed you, it was forwarded by the First Division to the COMELEC and bank. Tuloy natin.
Petition to cancel the COC. Let's first tackle the petition to for a TRO to be issued against the canvassing. At least one election lawyer that I've spoken to, Attorney Emil Marañon III, says the Supreme Court can suspend the proclamation but cannot suspend the canvassing. Why is it important for you to include? Why was it important for you to include this in your petition?
Ito ang paliwanag ko sa inyo sa mga hindi nakakaintindi din. Doon sa petition kasi ni Attorney Teodorte, nandoon yung prayer. Ano yung prayer? Yung prayer yan yung mga bagay na hinihiling mo na gawin ng korte. Nakalagay doon sa prayer niya na i-restrain o pigilan yung pagkakanbas ng mga boto. Bakit gusto niyang hilingin yon? Gusto niyang hilingin yon para hindi matapos yung bilangan. Pag hindi matatapos yung bilangan, syempre, walang mangyayaring proclamation, wala pang mananalo. Samantalang tayo, kung naaalala nyo, ang final natin ay motion to suspend proclamation. Diba? Pinaliwanag ko yan noon para hindi siya ma-proclaim. Pero pinakita ko rin sa inyo yung jurisprudence na sinasabi ng Supreme Court na hindi agad-agad na dahilan na kapag merong disqualification case na na-file sa isang kandidato ay pwede na siyang isuspend o pwede nang isuspend yung proclamation agad-agad. Alright, tuloy natin.
Well, Carmina, it is important because again, the Congress has a duty under the Constitution to conduct a canvass, and if the canvass uh, is concluded, to proclaim the winning candidate for president and vice president. So that's really part of the process. In our mind, it is important for the court to get involved because, well, it is the last resort. No? We have already gone through the COMELEC first, second division, COMELEC and bank, and under the rules, we are allowed a final resort to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, we are now at a situation where the elections were conducted, votes were cast, yet we still believe that the court can look into the issue of the cancellation of the COC. But before that can happen, we believe that the Congress may be required to stop first, considering the votes of the respondent. So that's why we included it.
Yeah.
Yan. So ito, parang kumbaga pinuputol mo, tayo mga kabatas natin, ang ginawa natin, hindi na natin pinatigil yung canvassing. Kasi nga, siyempre iba yung opinion niya. Iba rin yung opinion ng isang abogado na binanggit nga kanina nung host, di ba? Iba rin yung sa kanya. Pero ganyan talaga ang abogado, kanya-kanyang diskarte, di ba? Ang gusto niya, putulin niya ng mas maaga yon, yung canvassing, para hindi na tumuloy sa proclamation. Ang nangyari kasi sa atin mga kabatas natin, syempre dahil senator yan, tapos na yung canvassing. Di ba? Kaya may na-proclaim na. So, ang ginawa natin, pinipigilan dapat yung proclamation. Gets? Tuloy natin.
Because there are two factors here. One is that you are seeking that the COC be canceled and that you're also asking the court to issue a TRO on canvassing. Can one exist without the other?
Well,
Yeah, madali lang naman sagot doon. Oo, no? Pero papaliwanag ko sa inyo yung difference na ngayon nung kaso ni Tulfo at saka yung kaso ni BBM. Kasi ang daming nagtatanong, attorney, pakilinaw naman kami doon sa difference. Ang malaking difference dyan, mga kabatas natin, itong kay BBM ay ang petition niya ay to cancel certificate of candidacy. Ano ibig sabihin niyan? I-declare na walang visa yung kanyang certificate of candidacy as if he did not file his certificate of candidacy as if hindi siya tumakbo sa eleksyon. Ibig sabihin yan, meron kasing material misrepresentation na sinasabi nila. So if votes were cast in relation to him, hindi rin ito valid. Bakit nga? Kasi he is considered as not a candidate. Yung disqualification case naman, mga kabatas natin, pwede siyang maging kandidato. Pwede siyang tumakbo, pero disqualified. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Well, siguro nalito kayo. Ako nalito rin ako dun sa sinabi ko. Ganito yan, no? Yung pagkakaiba dun sa isa, hindi siya nag-file ng certificate of candidacy niya. Yung isa, nag-file siya, yung kay Tulfo, kay Tulfo ito, nag-file siya ng certificate of candidacy, no? So, ibig sabihin, pumasok siya bilang kandidato, pero na-disqualify siya kasi nga meron siyang kaso involving moral turpitude na decided by the Supreme Court with finality. Doon kay Bongbong Marcos as if he did not file kasi nga null and void yung kanyang certificate of candidacy. Gets nyo? Okay, tuloy natin.
The TRO is an interim remedy. It is what we call in law, a temporary remedy, just to make sure that the primary relief that we are asking for is not rendered moot. So that is why we asked for it. So
to answer the question directly, they can coexist. No? Tapos, syempre, pwede bang mag-file ka ng isang TRO lang as the main remedy? In some instances, yes. Pero usually, ang TRO, ancillary remedy ang tawag dyan. Isang remedy na kalakip ng isang main action. Katulad dito, yung cancellation of COC. Alright, tuloy natin.
if the court in its opinion,
Ito, papaliwanag ko rin yung kuwaran mamaya. Buti pinaalala mo.
can consider the case on the merits without the TRO, then so be it. But as you know, as a litigant, what we are concerned with is that the court may decide that the primary relief we are asking for may be rendered moot unless, for example, Congress is...
Ano ba yung sinasabi nilang moot na yan, mga kabatas natin, kapag usapang legal? Ibig sabihin, kapag moot na yung isang kaso, nalipasan na ito ng panahon. Anong ibig sabihin ulit nun? Ibig sabihin, kahit anuman ang maging desisyon, doon sa kaso na yan, hindi na maaapektuhan yung present condition. Diba? Parang yung sinasabi niya, na kapag naging moot na siya, anuman ang mangyari doon sa kaso, it will not affect the presidency of Bongbong Marcos anymore. Yan yung sinasabi nilang moot na. Wala nang kwenta, wala nang silbi. Ngayon, ang tanong nila dito, maraming nagdiriwang kasi kanina na, syempre, nalungkot tayo nung hindi tayo, hindi na napagbigyan yung ating motion to suspend proclamation. Like I said, it's not the end of it all. Diba? Magiging moot ba yung petition natin? Hindi. Kasi ayon sa jurisprudence na binasa natin kanina, tuloy ang laban. At sabi, hindi madadivest yung kaso sa COMELEC and Bank at tuloy-tuloy pa rin itong lilitisin hanggang magkaroon ng finality. Ngayon, ang tanong ko dyan, di ba? Gusto ko lang naman, hindi, ang prayer ko dyan, gusto ko lang naman ma-decide based on the merits. Di ba? Tuloy natin.
Restrained. So that is why we ask for the TRO. Hopefully the Supreme Court agrees with us. If the Supreme Court does not agree with us, then we believe the court can still consider and should still consider the petition itself.
Attorney, while some have called to respect the 31 million vote mandate of former Senator Bongbong Marcos, we also heard from the camp of the former senator himself. The words that were used were respect the will of the people. While they're saying that, you have chosen to pursue this petition before the Supreme Court. Why is that important?
Oh, ito. Ako yung sasagot muna dyan, no? Kasi marami ring nagsasabi doon na, attorney, talo ka na. Tumigil ka na. Di ba? Tandaan nyo, nagtatrabaho ako dito. Di ba? I owe it to justice. And I owe it to my client na pagbutihin itong kasong ito hanggang sa makakaya ko. Until its final resolution, until justice is met. Wala sa akin yung control. Kumbaga, kasangkapan lang ako. Kasangkapan lang ako ng justice system para ito ay makamit kung ano man ang dapat makamit. Para dito ay makamit kung ano ang dapat makamit. Diba? Yung respect the will of the people, that's well respected. Wala namang problema, no? I am not questioning, no, or the petitioner here is not questioning the will of the people. The petitioner is questioning if Raffy Tulfo is qualified to run as senator. Yun. Iba yung binoto ko ng tao, iba rin kung disqualified ka. Dalawang magkaiba na issue yun. Alright? Tuloy natin.
Well, again, the issue here, Carmina, as we have stated from the very start, is that there is a fatal defect, in our opinion, in the certificate of candidacy. And the legal effect, according to the Supreme Court itself, in decisions that it has rendered, is that if there is a misrepresentation in a certificate of candidacy, there is no valid candidacy. And that is the legal position that we are taking here. So, it is not a question of not respecting the votes cast, but it is a question, more importantly, of was there a candidacy that under the law can be recognized? And that is the question that we are submitting to the court.
Ito ang pinaglalaban kasi nila dito na pag-aralan natin yung mga kabatas natin na yung non-filing of income tax returns is a crime involving moral turpitude. When in fact, the Supreme Court already ruled on that. Ngayon, ang binabank nila, Theodore Te dito, ni Atty. Teodorte, ang kanilang pinupustahan dito ay i-reverse ng Supreme Court yung sarili nila o kaya i-abandon nila yung former ruling nila na sinasabi nila na non-filing of income tax returns is not something involving moral turpitude. Ngayon, yun ang hinahabol nila. Kaya question nila doon na, hey, Supreme Court, hoy, Supreme Court, baguhin nyo naman ho yung desisyon nyo. Sabihin nyo na itong kaso ni Bongbong Marcos na ito ay isang crime involving moral turpitude. Ngayon, kapag binago ng Supreme Court yun at sinabing niya na involving moral turpitude, pwede siyang makancel. Diba? Tuloy natin.
Because what will you do with that acceptance or respect if it's not based on the rule of law?
Yes, precisely, because the law does define what a valid certificate of candidacy is. And so,
yan. So, yun yung question nila. Tapos, tignan din natin kasi dito, yung contrast natin doon sa kaso ni Raffy Tulfo. Sa kaso ni Raffy Tulfo kasi, sa atin, no, we are asking the COMELEC to apply the law. May jurisprudence na sinabi, yung kay Pichay nga, di ba? Na libel is a crime involving moral turpitude. Sa kanila kasi, baliktad. So, yun ang malaking problema doon sa kaso nila. Sa kaso nila, gusto nilang sana mabago yung desisyon ng Supreme Court. Doon sa atin, sana may ipatupad yung desisyon ng Supreme Court dito sa kaso ni Raffy Tulfo. Kuha nyo?
That is simply what we are asking the court to consider. That this is a certificate of candidacy which, according to the court, if there are misrepresentations, may be considered void ab initio. And we are submitting that question. And it is submitted for the first time, Carmina, because while there have been decisions of the Supreme Court on cancellations of certificates of candidacy, there haven't been any decisions on cancellations of certificates of candidacy for president. So this would be the first time. And so,
so yun yung sinasabi niya, no, for president. First time for president, baka sa president may maging moral turpitude. Yung sinasabi nila na yung non-filing of non-filing of income tax returns is moral turpitude. I don't think so, no. It's a long shot. It's a long shot.
You know, part of the job of a lawyer and advocate is to also consider if
Attorney, meron bang case na binago ng SC ang kanilang decisions? Meron po. Meron, pero mangilan-ngilan lang. Mangilan-ngilan lang. Very, very few.
This is a case that would enrich jurisprudence to make sure that, you know, the court is able to interpret the law or the rules.
Ito sabi niya, attorney, di ba sabi niyo dati pag nag-decide ng Supreme Court, bihira na ito? Yes, bihira na ito. No? Pero baka i-reverse nila yung sarili nila dun sa former decisions sila. Actually, hindi reversal ang tawag dun. Ang reversal, kapag kunwari, nag-decide sila tapos nag-motion for reconsideration ka tapos reverse nila yung sarili nila. Ang tinatawag dito, abandon. Ia-abandon nila yung former decision nila tapos gagawa sila ng bagong decision na kakaiba doon sa dating decision nila o kaya contrary o kaya salungat doon sa former decision nila. Yun yung mangyayari.
In a particular way.
Attorney Te, if the COMELEC on Bank's decision is upheld by the Supreme Court, what kind of precedent do you think that will set?
Well, it would be unfortunate, and you know, as far as the precedent that would be set, it might signal that, you know, the information in the certificate of candidacy that is being required need not be considered seriously, which would be, I think, unfortunate.
Yan. Pero ito kasi, like I said, let's listen to the two sides of the coin. Dito sa bandang ito, nakita nyo naman yung postura ko. You see my posture. I think you very well know na my position about this because I'm relying on Supreme Court decisions also, which such Supreme Court decisions say hindi nga siya moral turpitude. Di ba? I'm relying on that. So, ito, I don't agree with Atty. Teodorte dun sa sinasabi niya na it's unfortunate. Katulad ng sa akin din, if like for example, the Supreme Court will change it, it's unfortunate for me and my client maybe, pero it's always a win for jurisprudence if it is the right thing to do. Diba? If it is the right decision. Diba?
I think what we are asking the Supreme Court to do is to treat the certificate of candidacy that's filed by all candidates seriously. that to tell candidates
I think they are. I think the Supreme Court as well as the COMELEC is taking it seriously. Ano. That's what I want to think. Diba? That's what I want to think. So yun natin.
that they cannot just disregard what is being asked for in the certificate of candidacy, because again, if candidates can just simply disregard what is required in terms of information, then why bother with asking these questions in the certificate?
Why even have that COC?
Yes, precisely. It would just simply be a piece of paper.
Ang weird naman, no? Parang pag sa trial ito, no, it's very objectionable. No foundation, Your Honor. Parang sinasabi nila na hindi maganda yung trato sa COC na, tapos hindi na sacred yung COC, blah, 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 blah. Pero they are not laying any foundation bakit hindi na sacred. Diba? Tapos hindi na rin nila binabanggit yung dahilan. Because, of course, if indeed kasi you have justifiable reasons, cite the case. Like for example, doon tayo sa kaso ni Raffy Tulfo, we are citing cases. Diba? Left and right, we have a lot of cases saying that libel is moral turpitude. Diba? Nung unang panahon pa. Pero, in their case, the jurisprudence is against them. Yun ang problema. Diba? So, yun natin.
But there has to be some importance attached to the certificate of candidacy. And the information, as ruled already by the COMELEC, both the second division and the in-bank, the information required is material. That's not in question. And the only question now being submitted is whether or not the statements are false.
If the petition, though, is granted, and it's as if Marcos Jr. never really ran for the presidency, you're saying the second placer should assume office, but why not the vice president-elect?
I think that is a question, that is a consequence of the law taking effect. Because again, if there is no valid candidacy, because the court will rule, for example, that the certificate should be cancelled and should not be considered as a valid candidacy in the first place, then as far as the electoral contest for presidency is concerned, there was no such candidate. But there were other candidates who ran and garnered votes. And therefore, the focus should simply be on those who ran for president.
So,
Yan, ito. Siguro doon kami magkakaiba ng opinion. As late as now, especially if Marcos will be proclaimed, the vice president will be proclaimed, I think succession should take place. Bakit? Kasi nga hindi naman nanalo si Lenny by plurality of votes. Diba? Yun lang yung aking instant na opinion dito. Ewan ko sa inyo. Sabihin nyo nga kung ano yung opinion nyo, mga kabatas natin. Yun lang yung sa akin eh. Kasi parang siguro I have to brush up in my election law in relation to succession. Pero yun ang iniisip ko eh. If Marcos has been proclaimed, di ba? Tapos na yung election, it will be by virtue of succession. So si Sara Duterte, magiging natin, presidente. Ewan ko, ano sa tingin nyo? Makakontra lang ako sa kanya.
basically, you're saying, Attorney Ted, that we should be able to discern what succession is and what the electoral contest is. We're just talking about the electoral contest here, and succession is not even part of the equation.
Well, that is the distinction between, I think, the effect of a cancellation and a disqualification. Because when you talk about a disqualification, there would have been in law a valid candidacy, except that there was a disqualified candidate. And so
Yan yung pinapaliwanag ko kanina.
The electoral contest for that particular person is concerned, there was a valid run, except that the person who won is not considered qualified. In that situation, the successor principle takes place. But in the case of a cancellation, if the court orders that the certificate is cancelled, and therefore there was no valid candidacy to consider, then as far as the votes are concerned, they are considered stray votes. And therefore, the only votes to be considered would be the votes cast for president for valid candidates. And that's why the successor principle cannot apply in that situation.
We heard from
Yan. Well, may punto rin siya doon, no? May punto rin siya doon sa sinasabi niya na 'yon. Pero like I said, let's tickle our minds. Makakontra lang. Diba? Mag-research din kayo. Anyway, mga batas natin, dyan muna natin puputulin ito. No, I think this is a very long video already. Maraming salamat po sa pagsubaybay. Gusto ko lang talagang i-compare and contrast. I think we did that successfully naman. Tapos doon sa mga nagre-rejoice na kay Tulfo, go ahead. Wala namang problema. Like I said, this is nothing personal to us. Diba? Especially dito sa batas natin, issue nga hindi tao. Galit ka kay Tulfo, hindi kami galit kay Tulfo dito. 'Di ba? Pero mahal namin yung batas, kaya kami nag-aaral. 'Di ba? Yan. Maraming salamat mga kabatas natin. Lipat tayo sa kabila, ituloy natin yung kay Project Nightfall. Yung apology niya. Tingnan natin kung gaano ka-sincere yan. Maraming salamat at syempre matulog po tayo na mahimbing. Tandaan niyo yan when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Yun ang gawin natin. Matulog po tayo na mahimbing dahil alam natin na yung natutulog na mahimbing, siya yung laging panalo. Paalam po pansamantala.